#1.
Miss any part of the show? Every moment of every show is available in podcast form by searching Hans and Scotty on your favorite podcasting platform or online at KSLSports.com. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard. All right, it's time to classy up this joint. Because, look, Hans is out. And even when Hans is here, we're not the best-looking show out there. But we bring in Sly, and the place immediately gets a little bit better reputation. Sly Sylvester joining us. Steven, how are you, man?
Oh, you're giving me too much credit, man. I appreciate it, though. If you ask my wife, I'm ugly as heck, so, I'm good.
All wives think their husbands are ugly. That's just how it goes, man.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Somewhere at one point, Angelina Jolie's looking at Brad Pitt like, you are ugly, man.
Ugly, right?
Yeah. Hey, how you doing, by the way?
I'm doing great, man. I actually just traveled to Vegas today. I'm going to hang with fam this week for a little bit and kind of get a little bit of time off before heading back to Utah.
What draft day memories do you have? What's that day like for you when you kind of revisit what that was like as a former player?
Man, it just anxiety.
Yeah.
Draft day was insane. Draft week was insane. There was just so much going on because there's so much you don't know, and I think anybody suffers from this when there's things that are you just so out of your control. Like when you get grades, right? Like you go to school, you get grades. Like if you do the work, you should get good grades, right?
Yep.
Simple as that. You do your chores, you get allowance. You do this, you get that. That's normally how it goes. With the draft process, you could do great in college, i.e., the receiver Nash out of San Jose State,
yeah,
right? Leads the nation in every single stat, doesn't get drafted, right? You could do everything right, everything you possibly could, the best of your abilities, and still not get drafted. So that week is just frustrating. So for me, what really comes to mind is just the buildup of it and how I was just so worked up. And then, of course, once I got the call, kind of like that just release and the smiles and it's on the business right after that.
Yeah. So I want to get your opinions on a few players. First off, let's talk about the biggest story out of it. Shedeur Sanders, you watched him. You've called some of these games. You've been around this guy. Right. When you watched him, I mean, he looked all world against Utah earlier this past season, but then struggled against BYU in the bowl game. So did you feel like he was a high-level draft pick after watching him play?
But this is what everybody needs to understand. The draft is so not what everybody thinks it should be. It's never what this makes sense. It should do that. It's never like that, ever. Right? That's why, like, when I was drafted, I was like, why are these guys going ahead of me? I know I'm better than these guys. I've shown better, whatever. But, like, the draft is never what it should be. It's always based off of so many different people's opinion on what they need, what should happen, or public opinion. There's so many factors that goes into it. Shedeur Sanders getting drafted late, man. First of all, he didn't look all world against Utah. Utah was just that bad this year.
Fair enough.
And so honestly, I think that the game Utah played is something that BYU took as far as film and was like, okay, we need to do that against this guy and we'll win. And so I think BYU just did a great job of prepping for that game and getting after Shedeur. But, I think that Utah gave Shedeur so many opportunities that he ended up with the statistics that he had. And so, but we were frustrating him, that's for sure. And that's what I was like on the sidelines in Colorado. I was just like, man, we could do that, but we just got no offense. We got nothing to put pressure on Colorado. So that just sucked. But Shedeur Sanders is a talent. Like, I was impressed. I wasn't really, like, sure of his arm with the Jackson State years. But his first year at Colorado, I was watching film, and I'm just like, this kid can throw the ball. He's got accuracy. He could throw the deep ball. He could do a lot of different things. And so I'm just like, oh, he's got skills. And then another year, he's refined those. He started making checks at the offensive line of scrimmage. But it's development. And I don't think that I didn't give him a first-round grade in my book. I know that really doesn't mean much. But in my book, I saw him as a second-round draft pick. And definitely with all the teams in the league that have had quarterback issues, i.e. Cowboys, Dak Prescott injured for the majority of the last couple seasons, you need a quality backup. The Steelers, you got nobody. Mason Rudolph is nobody on the roster. You don't draft Shedeur. Yeah, the Cleveland Browns, you wait all the way until you get Dylan Gabriel and then take Shedeur with your last pick. What my vex with it is he's a very skilled person. I think he needs development. I don't think he'll be anybody's rookie of the year, but he's somebody that you could invest in for the future as far as his size, his arm capability. And, you know what, Mike Tomlin said it on a podcast a couple of years ago on the Ryan Clark podcast. He's like, he loves reading draft grades and people talking about kids like, oh, he doesn't have hands, he doesn't do this, he doesn't do that. And that's coaching. So what you're saying is you don't want to coach. You want somebody who's already have NFL experience getting drafted. That makes no sense. And so I think that's what a lot of these people who grade people in the drafts, they just negate the fact that, like, look, people still got to develop. He's still a 22-year-old kid. Let him develop under people. And so I don't know, but I do think he's skilled and talented. I don't think he's a fifth-round draft pick. I think he's a little sooner than that, second, third round. But, the draft is – I've said it to JJ over the years. It really doesn't matter where you get drafted. It's all about the situation and if they're going to give you an opportunity for your skills to shine.
Steven Sylvester joining us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. What do you think about the kid who stole the number and did the prank call, though?
Oh, man, I don't know if you know, like, I spent my entire day arguing with people yesterday. I was so livid at that. I'm pissed off because, one, personally, my experience with the draft and how anxious I was for how many years that I put in to get into that point, and for somebody to make joke out of it is one of the most disrespectful things. But aside from that, people do get prank called, right?
Yeah.
That happens all the time. Actually, when the prank call happened, I'm just like, hey, honestly, the Sanders family, they put themselves out there to be susceptible to things like that. And that's what it is. I thought it was just a regular thing. Somebody found his number and did that. When I found out that it was the kid of an organization, I lost my mind. I was just like, Ulbrich should be fired immediately. The Falcons should be fined from the commissioner. I think they should need to be throwing the book at them because it's deeper than this prank call. If a snot-nosed 21 or however old this stupid kid is can get the phone number of a draft pick, who knows what other access of information that he's privy to? Yeah. Everybody right now already is skeptical that the NFL is scripted. Everybody's a boys club. As I said, this whole Shedeur thing, how does 32 teams, people who need quarterbacks, people who need valuable backups, how does the Carolina Panthers not look at Shedeur in the third or fourth round, right, to back up Bryce Young, who you're not sure about? How does Geno Smith not have a valuable back? He'd be great in Las Vegas. He'd be great in Dallas as a backup to Dak Prescott. How do these guys all pass on him? And, like, I'm just looking at their draft, and I'm like, you drafted like even the Browns that took him. He was their last pick of the draft. They drafted 2 running backs before they drafted him. And so I'm just like, there's just so much more going on that I'm just like, I'm bewildered at, and it's just dumb. But for a kid of an organization, a kid of a parent, a kid of a coach, to get that and create some kind of and that was thought out, right? Yeah. Like they knew, like he portrayed the GM for the Saints. He knew exactly that was thought out. I know the Saints need a quarterback. They're probably thinking about this. Let me make sure to call Shedeur as we're going up and doing this. Like there was information that he already knew to make that call. And so for me, I think Ulbrich should be fired for his negligence because it's just like a doctor, right? If a doctor has his kids around and he's a celebrity doctor and these kids are now accessing Kanye West information, accessing Kim Kardashian's information, or check it out. Like, okay, say Johnny Depp's lawyer, right? Their kid gets Amber Heard's number and starts calling Amber Heard, telling her all the stuff that they know about the legal case. Would there not be another lawsuit attached to that?
Oh, yeah. And that lawyer probably gets disbarred, too.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
My thing is the NFL, and we're talking about how, these teams trade players, they trade coaches, and how privy this information is. How do we know game to game, week to week, this isn't happening? I.e., 3 years ago now, when Brian Daboll got the head coaching job for New York.
Yeah.
Who was the first person to text him?
Was it Bill Belichick?
Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
But Bill Belichick texts Brian Flores instead.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Right? Like, so what kind of boys club is all of this stuff? Like, and so, like, my thing is like, that's just the tip of the iceberg for me. It's more than the prank call. In my book, and why I was so mad. I was so mad because of me. I was a player who went through the draft experienced the level of angst that Shedeur did. I'd never had that level, but just to understand that, that's just nothing to play with. And for a kid of a coach, he should be close enough to know that that's not something to play with.
Yeah. Well, number one, you don't play with that. And number two, if you do, you certainly don't post a video of yourself doing it on social media when you're the son of the DC. That's the biggest moronic thing. This guy may end up costing his dad his job, and in your opinion, he should cost his dad his job, and for being a complete imbecile.
Right. It's just like say you're the son of a cop, right? And you get information from your dad's stuff.
Yep.
Right? Is your dad not going to be held accountable?
Yep.
And so I don't care. Here's my thing. Everybody's like, oh, everybody's got snot-nosed kids. I'm like, if you know your kid is an S-bag, you know not to leave proprietary information around them, especially in a celebrity-filled league. I just think his negligence is a fireable offense because we don't know the level that goes to. We talk about the Giants GM and how stupid he was about the Saquon Barkley free agency a year or two ago,
yep.
right? And how he handled all that and how his kids was talking to him. These kids are involved in these guys' lives. We get that. But the fact that this kid made a joke of somebody's life, I don't take that lightly, and anybody that challenges me on that, I'm willing to have that debate because I think that's one of the most messed up things ever.
I love it. Steven Sylvester right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Sly, the man when it comes to all things football, especially Utah football. And look, in this day and age, if you've got a skill set, you don't even have to put up numbers. But if you have a certain skill set, the NFL will find you. Caleb Lohner ends up being a 7th-round pick going to the Broncos because they like his size, they like his ability, and they like his potential. What do you think? You've been in the league. You've guarded big tight ends. You know what it's like. What could Caleb Lohner do at the next level?
Man, Caleb Lohner is Gronk on steroids. I think utilize, as I said, I've said this all the time, it's about the situation you're going into. The situation in Denver is amazing. You got a young quarterback, a new coach who is investing in that quarterback. You got young people around you. You got an exciting franchise that made it to the playoffs last year and is hungry for more and needing a talent. Caleb Lohner caught 4 passes for 4 touchdowns last year.
Yeah.
Underutilized at Utah. And so for me, if you see this guy run, he probably runs, he's 240, 250, runs about a 4.6. He runs like a deer. Jimmy Graham, Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez, all of these basketball converts have made it happen and did it in a great fashion. Caleb Lohner, I know he's tough, right? He blocks. He's very physical. You saw that in his basketball game. You saw that in the touchdowns that he caught. He was boxing guys out. They couldn't do anything. He's 6'8" with a 40-inch vertical. 6'8" with a 40-inch vertical. You know the size of these safeties?
Yeah.
They're 5'11", 6 foot. They don't have a 40-inch vertical. He has an advantage over everybody. I don't know why. Like the Colorado Buffaloes this past year, all of their safeties were 5'10" or lower. Shiloh and the other guy was short as crap. You're telling me we couldn't run Caleb Lohner right down the seam? I don't even need to huddle. Caleb, run right down the seam, right at the goalpost, and I'm going to throw it to you. You just go up and get it. Simple as that in ball game. And we couldn't even do that at Utah. But I know that Sean Payton, if you see that talent, you see that guy run, he has good hands. All he needs to do is work on his route running, which he doesn't even need to do route running. You see how he scored touchdowns. He is a red zone freaking nightmare for everybody. There's nothing you can do about that. That's like you just getting dunked on by LeBron and just being like throwing up your hands like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Like it's going to be Bo Nix has another weapon that is going to be absolutely dangerous. And you know what? The NFL is going to get so much attention to him when he's having success. That's going to open things up on the outside for Sutton and Devon Vele and all of their other weapons. Denver got a steal. Might be the steal of the draft. I think Caleb Lohner is going to be an outstanding NFL talent.
So I am putting you on the spot here a little bit, and I don't anticipate you watched a lot of Boise State football, but is Ashton Jeanty one of those rare guys that you feel like should be worth a high first-round pick at running back?
Man. Oh, yeah, man. You don't even need to watch all his games. You just watch his highlight tapes. So with me, I look at that. Everybody's talking about, he's in the Mountain West. He wasn't in the P4, blah, blah, blah. You look at the talent, and can that translate to the next level? Can that translate to a P4 level? Can that translate to the NFL level? What he does, he has great patience, and he's a great low center of gravity. He's not a tall dude, but you know what? He's compact like Maurice Jones-Drew, and he has a great burst. If you see his burst, as soon as he sees a hole and he gets an opportunity for a hole, he has an amazing burst that first 5 to 8 yards, and that's what's going to get him those extra yards. So imagine if you put a big NFL offensive line in front of him that can create those holes and have a game plan from Chip Kelly that can create those holes. This guy's going to be electric. He's a guy that you can give the ball to 25 to 30 times a game and get you 115 to 140 yards a game. That guy, he's going to have a great NFL career, and it was all about the situation. Las Vegas, not far from Boise State, and you can sit around the fandom with all of that. People can go, and Vegas can market him. That's a terrific pick for the Raiders. And ever since I've said the Raiders have done a lot of dumb things, and I continue to do that all year. But ever since Tom Brady's got there, they've got their head on straight. They got a good GM. They got Chip Kelly over there. They got Pete Carroll, which I like. They're making all the right decisions. They got Geno Smith as a quality guy. He's not a Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or nothing, but like he can get it done. And so you're doing all the right things. Look out for the Raiders. I hate to say it, but look out for the Raiders this year.
Keep saying it, Sly. Keep saying it.
Lloyd, turn the mic off.
Lloyd's excited. I know it.
Yeah, no, he's very excited. So this is the thing, and I'm glad you brought this up because doing the Utah State games, I called some of his games when he was running roughshod over the Aggies. And the one thing, and I want to be careful because, this guy's the greatest of all time, but he reminded me of Barry Sanders. And I'm not saying he's going to be Barry Sanders. I'm saying he reminded me, and when you watch that old Barry film, Barry would hit the line and he could stop and start so fast and then hit that next gear after stopping in the line, waiting, and then boom, that burst that you talk about. And I'm glad you brought that up because that's what always jumped out to me. He's small, he's compact, and can shed blockers, but he can hide in that line, see what's developing, and then hit it so fast. And that's what really jumped out to me about him.
Yeah, I can't give the Barry Sanders nod, but his production says otherwise, right? He was right up there with Barry. But like Ashton, man, I don't actually know his comp, right? I said MJD, Maurice Jones-Drew.
I think that's a very good one.
There's a lot of people like Maurice. If people watch Maurice Jones-Drew coming out of UCLA, and his first couple years of college, there's a lot of semblance from stature to explosion to shedding blocks and tough running. There's a lot of comps there, but I haven't found the exact comp for Ashton Jeanty, but I like him, man. And they drafted a couple old linemen as well. So they're packing in that offensive line. They got the quarterback. They're getting offensive linemen. They got the number one tight end, I believe, will be in the league, Brock Bowers. Man,
yeah.
Sorry, Lloyd. I don't want to get you too happy today, but I just like what the Raiders are doing, man.
Hey, before I let you go, what's your thoughts where the Utes are at coming out of spring, and what are your expectations for this upcoming year?
It's hard to say, kind of, especially with the loss of a couple players, Landon King and Zacharias Williams, and a couple guys that left after spring. It sucks that they're more key players, right? I wish they were more of the bench players that left. But it's guys that you had big plans on in the season. I thought Landon King was another one of those Caleb Lohner talents. He's 6'5", 6'6", 250, and can catch the ball in traffic, putting on weight. He's developing over the years. But, he's had some frustrations, and he locked in a pick at Duke, so he knew something. It's yet to be told. I like Jason Beck, so there's that. And when I talked to him this spring before the spring game, trying to understand, like, his motive is like, look, these are the players that I got, right? I'm not trying to force this other ideology into these players. I'm trying to say, like, these players' skill sets is XYZ, and I'm going to use them as such. I love that, right? Because when you get an injury to a key player, you got somebody else who's fulfilling who doesn't have that same skill set, but they do have a different skill set. How do you highlight that? That is what Jason Beck says that he focuses on, and what is his specialty, and why he finds success is he takes the individual players that are on that roster and puts them into the offense and makes it work. So I'm very excited for that this season. I think our defense is going to be solid as per usual. But again, I was very hyped on the team last year, and we wet the bed. So I'm going to reserve judgment, but I'm still excited at things coming out. I really, really like our quarterback. He's so dynamic and fast that, he can make up for a lot of the issues that he does. Of course, we're trying to get his interceptions down. But I think he makes up for it with his dynamic and playmaking ability with his legs.
Well, no bedwetting on this conversation, man. You killed it. This was fun. We got to do this again sometime.
Hey, you let me know. You got my number.
I love it. Sly, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Steven Sylvester right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Truth bombs right and left, especially about the Shedeur Sanders thing. Hey, and the prank. I thought he nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
He probably should lose his job.
Oh,
yeah. You just can't have that.
Nope. Cannot have that. All right. Hey, don't miss Minky Monday coming up on the Zone a week from today, Monday, May 5th, to win a Minky Couture blanket. The original classy blanket, Minky Couture, makes the perfect Mother's Day gift, and Zone listeners get 50% off using the code ZONE50. Don't miss Minky Monday coming up this Monday, a week from today, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, 1:30 coming up next. We'll have a chance to catch up with Patrick Kinahan straight ahead right here on the Zone. Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. When Hans leaves, that means we get everybody to help fill those size 15s. It's not easy to do. Well, PK's up for the challenge. Patrick Kinahan, you hear him every morning, 6 to 10. PK, how are you?
I'm doing well, Scotty. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for hanging out with me, man. I appreciate it.
Sure. My pleasure.
Well, I know that the NFL draft, I remember telling you, like, when we were back at the old place, like, I watch every second of the NFL draft. I love it. It's been a huge part of my sports fandom growing up, and so now my 13-year-old watches it with me, and so we were glued to our TV. We were going to be glued to it regardless. But with the Shedeur thing, I mean, I think the NFL, Lloyd pointed this out earlier, NFL may have hit a bit of a gold mine with him falling, because kept people around for Saturday watching, trying to figure out where he went. You've watched him play. You've covered games when he played against Utah and BYU. What are your thoughts on Shedeur, and how surprised were you with how this played out?
Well, there's no question that it did create a ratings bonanza, much like Bill Belichick. I sat there on Saturday afternoon or Saturday morning with my 24-year-old and watched the draft. So with that in mind, yeah, I'm high on the kid. I know there's some other stuff, and listening to people and reading to people about maybe a sense of entitlement, didn't treat the thing well. That's disappointing to me if it's true, because I think you are basically in a job interview. And every time, now I come from a different situation, and I didn't come from the economic advantages that he did. I came from the lower social economic thing. So
it's one thing Shedeur and David James have in common.
that's so true. It's well said. Thank you. You. I didn't want to be the one to constantly say it, but you got to treat it as if it is extremely important, right? If you want the job. So that's a problem if all those things are true. I like his talent. I like his mindset. Go out there and ball. You got to deal with today's athlete, and some guys are different than others, And look at his dad, right? The DNA is there to be pretty doggone cocky. But the thing about Coach Sanders when he was a player is, my gosh, he was unbelievable. He was an entertainer, and I think that's what they grew up with. My mother, if you want to look at a chip off the old block, she was a sailor swearing, chain smoking, fine church going woman, and that's me. And so you have that environment that you look at, and I wonder, is that something that he just thinks is the way it's supposed to be? So I cut him a little slack. I look at the ability, and in my mind, yeah, I'm with Mel Kiper. I'm not going to be up there screaming that the NFL has been idiots for 50 years in evaluating quarterbacks, because it's a very difficult position to evaluate. The best of the best get it wrong. You just hope that you're right more often than you aren't, or else you're in a problem. I thought he should have gone much higher. But in the end, what does it matter when they start camp and all that stuff? Go show people. Just try to make the team and then go from there.
If I kept thinking to myself, if my kid did me dirty the way that defensive coordinator at Atlanta did him, I would be irate. Just the prank call's one thing, but when you know your dad is a high-profile dad, he's the defensive coordinator, as soon as you hit send on that social media post that the world is going to know that your dad was the one who helped facilitate you get that number. I was sick to my stomach, because I could totally see my 13-year-old doing that someday, and that's what makes me nervous. But ultimately, that becomes, in a weird way, Shedeur Sanders ends up being, going from an obnoxious spoiled kid to maybe being the victim that people are rooting for after some of the hits he took over the weekend.
As I understand it, Shedeur wasn't the only one, so we need to spread the equal amount of angst and just shockness, if that's a word, across the board there. If I'm the coach, when that kid comes home, I don't know if he's living at home or whenever, but the next time he does come home, I make sure my updated will is right there on the counter for everyone to see, and his name is not on it.
Yep, no doubt. No doubt, because he's probably going to lose his job off of this, especially if it's as big as it looks like it could end up being.
Man, I would be hesitant to do that. I mean, it's easy for somebody to sit here. I know your prior guest said that, Lloyd told me, but put yourself in that position.
Oh, yeah.
And as I've gotten older, you can make all the outlandish declarations you want, but the one thing I've learned is you don't really know until you're in the moment. And 21 years old, suppose he gave him the keys. Now, this is serious, and he gets in a nasty accident. They gave him the keys to the car. Is the dad responsible for that? I mean, where do you go on that?
Yeah.
If it turns out he willingly gave him the number, that's another story. So it's more investigation. But a 21-year-old, how many years does it go for the parent not responsible to that degree? If he was a minor, I guess maybe it'd be different. It was obviously just a bad lapse in judgment. And actually, if you want Shedeur to be the victim in this, Dion tends to play the victim no matter what, and you're going after the media and all that stuff. That's part of the shtick and all. I get it, and it draws publicity. It's all about winning and losing at his level and at the NFL level. But Shedeur actually can be very humane by saying, I forgive him. It was a dumb thing to do. He made a mistake, but I believe his sincere apology and let's find a way to get past this. That would be something that I think most people would look at Shedeur and say, that's a very measured, mature response. And congratulations and good on you for doing that.
No doubt. Patrick Kinahan hanging out with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, all you have to do is donate $2 to the Primary Children's Hospital, and in hopes of creating a little goodwill, so maybe a guy who wore number 2 in college might end up here in Salt Lake City. How relevant are the Jazz if they get Cooper Flagg on this roster next year?
Oh, big time. They're the talk of that night, which is 2 weeks from today. And it's during the playoffs, so it's not going to have a real lasting effect over the next few weeks beyond that. But then when we get past the NBA Finals, focus is on the draft, right? And at that point, absolutely. And I think with my man, I like to call him Danny Ray Ainge, calling the shots, you give him a piece like Cooper Flagg, then that makes putting together the other pieces a lot easier. And we were talking about this morning with an NBA guy. When the Bucks got Drew Holiday, I've followed him since his college days. He played for UCLA, and I really liked him. I thought he was an unsung hero. He's more than a glue guy. He's a very good player that knows how to win. And he gets to the Bucks, right? He becomes a missing piece for them to win the title. Goes to the Celtics, he becomes a missing piece. So if you've got stars, they have Antetokounmpo, they got Jason Tatum. Then when you get that really, really high-level role player, he becomes that much more effective. Look at Jeff Hornacek going back. He came from Philadelphia, right? They sucked. He gets on the Jazz. You got the stars at the top. He becomes that much more effective, a critical component to the team's success. You've got to get that star. That's the hardest thing to do. I think Cooper Flagg, we're talking about Anthony Edwards. He was the number 1 pick. Takes him a couple years. Now at 23 years of age, Anthony Edwards is a big-time star. Different player, but I think Cooper Flagg can have that kind of impact. This kid didn't turn 18 years old until December, and look at him go. My gosh, yeah, if they can find a way to get him, that is just going to set everything in motion to a degree that would just be incredible, because then these guys like Filipowski and some other guys that they've drafted, they can slot in. You don't necessarily need them to be stars. And if you kept Markkanen or if you kept Collins, yeah, you can do some winning here in a couple years and give Cooper Flagg time to get his feet underneath him in the NBA. I think it's going to happen. I think Lady Luck is going to shine upon the Jazz, and 2 weeks from tonight, they're going to find themselves with the number 1 pick.
Patrick Kinahan, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Again, you hear him with David James every morning from 6 to 10. The one thing I find interesting about this year in the NBA playoffs is that we actually do have some level of parity. I could see multiple teams coming out of the West. Where if I had to, if we were going down to wherever your parents used to go to drop a few Skittles here and there, where would you put your Skittles on the team coming out of the West this year?
See, I think we're having that opinion, and I'm not necessarily arguing with your opinion. I'm just stating why you have that opinion is because OKC hasn't proven itself yet.
That's fair. That's 100% fair. Yep.
Right. And once or if, when, whatever, what you want to use there, they do prove themselves, then we're going to back off that it's wide open. And if this year, we're going to the Warriors here, the most recent NBA dynasty. We're looking at 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5, whatever it may be, because they are so stinking young, right? And Cody Williams, his brother, it has been so fun to watch him play and how much he has improved since he's been in the draft. Let your mind wander. And if you're a Jazz fan, obviously so many of our listeners are, and I am to a degree, want to see them do well. Imagine his brother, Cody, getting that better as much as he's the improvement that Williams has made. He's made himself into a borderline star. SGA's already there. Holmgren can do a lot of different things. And then they've got some really, really good role players. So right now, I'm listing them as the favorite. But I get your point. I got to see who comes out of the second round because I'm not really sure. Is it going to be the Clippers? Because I like the Clippers. You got Kawhi Leonard playing healthy. he's a dangerous ball player, right? It's just that we haven't seen it in so many years. And Harden can fit in, and they've got some other guys that are decent enough to help them. But they're going to struggle to beat the Nuggets. I don't even know if they get out of the first round. And then you got the Rockets. Are they going to be able to beat the Warriors? Can Jimmy Butler come back? So right now, I got to go with the Thunder as still my favorite. But I reserve the right to change that because of what happens based on the results of the second round and who's available, particularly if for the Warriors are there, right? So, and how about Minnesota? I didn't even talk about Minnesota.
Yeah.
If Minnesota just polishes off the Lakers in 5, that's pretty doggone impressive. And maybe they're hitting their stride. You know, they made a big trade there with Towns, and it may take some time with Julius Randle. Sometimes we look at things and we want that instant result, and it doesn't come, and we said, oh, that's a stupid thing to do. Maybe they're hitting their stride, and DiVincenzo playing a big role for those guys. So see what they've got there. But I agree with you. To an extent, it is open because the Thunder have not proven themselves. I believe it's not an if, it's a win. It may not be this year, but I think if we look and say 5 years from now, we get to 2030, do the Thunder have a title? I say they do.
It's not a matter of if they do, it's how many they have, honestly, I think. Because I agree with you. They're loaded, and you're right. That's a certain level of disrespect that I think that a lot of us, myself included, have shown towards them, because it's like, wait a minute, it's still Oklahoma City. Can we really, really consider them being a front runner? And a lot of times, too, because, you know, I got personally burnt by the Jazz a couple of years ago. They have the best record, and they fizzle out against the Clippers in the second round. I think Cleveland is I kind of put Cleveland in the East in that same regard, but maybe I'm disrespecting them as well as a potential team coming out of the East, because I'm thinking gaudy regular season record, but do I really trust them in the playoffs? And I'm not quite there with Cleveland, but maybe I should be.
That's another wait-and-see team. I don't think you can discount what they've done, and they needed some time to gel too, and they've made some moves themselves, and they're a dangerous team. Donovan Mitchell is a great, great player. There's no question about that. I still got to go Boston, the defending the winners there until they get beat. And in my mind, if they've got all their guys, they're still the favorite. But I would love to see Cleveland get in there and see Mitchell do his thing to be able to get himself where he wants to go. And it's just not Donovan Mitchell. That's the thing, and I want to make sure that's abundantly clear. They've got some other guys. I mean, look at this. When you think about it, who would have thought the Cleveland Cavaliers, and stay with me here, would have more return missionary Mormon kids on their roster than BYU basketball has on theirs?
Wow. Hey, solid point.
Okay, that's just a joke. We're having fun here, man.
Yeah. I actually think their GM might be one too. But yeah.
The GM of BYU or Cleveland?
No, of Cleveland. Yeah. Yeah, I think Gansey, he's LDS.
How about that? Your guy, Sam. Is he? Wow, good for him, man. Way to go. And Sam Merrill, man, all these years in the NBA, what a story. You got to like that story.
Yeah, good kid. But I'll admit I'm a little biased in that one. So, hey, appreciate it, PK. Thanks for hanging out, man. Okay. Oh, you big.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate
there he is.
Too.
The man himself, Patrick Kinahan, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. A little whole world news coming up next, right here on the Zone.
Go! It's time to span the globe for the hard-hitting news you care about. Well, not really. But hey, at least we found it interesting. This is Whole World News on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
We've got the whole world in our hands.
You got the whole world in our hands. We got the whole world in our hands. We got the whole world in our hands. We got the whole world in our hands. You got you and me, brother, in our hands. You got you and me, sister, in our hands. You got you and me, brother, in our hands. We got the whole world in our hands.
All right. So a little whole world news here, Lloyd. All right. I do need you to know this is not a political post, okay? It really wasn't intended to be that.
Oh, I know.
it's just funny how some people just don't understand really how the draft works. And so the statement made, I want people to know this is not political in any way, shape, or form. More importantly, I want Lloyd to know this was not intended to be political. But yes, President Trump, after the first round of the draft, did send out a tweet saying that the NFL owners are morons for not drafting Shedeur Sanders. And that tweet, obviously that's his right, 100% his right. He likes Deion Sanders. He's like Shedeur. It sounds like he's close with the family. And so he was upset that Shedeur wasn't taken. Well, Shedeur went past the second round and then went past the third, then went past the fourth, and then was finally drafted by the Cleveland Browns in the fifth round. Well, his press secretary today was asked about it, and she said, quote, in fact, I've said, all I will say is the president put out a statement, and a few rounds later, he was drafted. So I think the facts speak for themselves. Now, okay, if you don't know anything about the draft, okay, you might think, all right, well, that's good. A few rounds is a lot. We're talking about 120 picks of selections. It's not. Now, if he was taking a few picks after the statement came out, then you can puff your chest out a little bit
Even
over this
a round
one.
and a half.
Yeah.
Even a round and a half, be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, okay,
that was
fine.
helpful.
Yeah.
Maybe they saw the tweet a little later.
But when you're looking at almost over 100 picks later, you don't get to take credit for that. You just don't. And look, politicians, they will take credit for things they don't deserve all the time. Whether it's your Republican, whether it's a Democrat, this isn't pointing out anything. I don't want the Twitter mob coming after me. I'm just saying that there's probably a better way to handle this than saying a few rounds later. But then again, you're talking to the Washington press, and their probable knowledge of the NFL probably isn't great. So, you could probably get away with that one a little bit. But still, that one cracked me up. All right, Hans and Scotty, 2 o'clock straight up. Coming up, Mike Sanford will join us. We'll chat a little NFL. He's covered Shedeur. He lives in Colorado. What did he think of Shedeur falling in the draft? We'll talk to him next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.